you're here to understand the top 5 things that you wish you knew. I'm presenting it in a way that's a little different. These are questions that you might have actually asked, are the top 5 things. And for example, you might have asked the question, of brokers, don't try and sell me stuff that I don't need. Well, what I want to talk to you about is if you're using a good insurance broker, they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is save you time and money. And your time is money, because they're going to help you get the right insurance, but also help you when it comes to making claims. I mean, the important thing for a good insurance broker is to use 2 ears and 1 mouth, and to listen more than he talks, and to ask the right questions and get the right information from you so that they can provide you with the right advice. Because the important thing from an insurance broker is to provide you with advice, not tell you what to do, but to provide you with the right advice so you can make the right decision for you and for your business. Because really, insurance is actually, I see it more of an investment. It's not an expense. It's really an investment in the future, because you might pay a little bit for your insurance, but you might get a lot back by way of a big claims payout. We're hoping you don't have claims, and through the technology that DriveRisk will talk about, that Owen will talk about later, you'll see that there are ways to reduce claims, because ultimately a claim stops your business and affects your income stream, and that's what we don't want to happen. But when claims happen, claims affect premiums. So a premium is actually calculated based on the risk profile of a business. And the more information you can give your insurance broker, the better the risk profile of your business, which means the insurer can make a better decision about your business, which means you get better premiums. And, if there's one thing I can impart to you today is the more information, the better. Information is a king for us in the insurance industry, and we hope that you take the time to understand that. And so the outcome really is you'll end up with the right insurance at the right premium, which will give you peace of mind to focus on doing what your business is doing, making money for you, to pay the wages, to make profit, and to expand. Now, another question that is often asked is, can I go online and buy insurance myself to save money? And the insurance industry has been very good to say that, and this is the insurance industry, that a great way to value an insurance policy is on the premium you pay. Now, price is always important, but the problem you have is the insurance industry is a minefield. And I've got up there several items there that you'll see. The first one is size. The insurance industry has about more than 200 different insurers, and in the transport space, there are probably about 15 specialist insurers. And if you go online, you're only going to find maybe 3 or 4 of those. You're not going to have the whole market, whereas working with an insurance broker will present the whole market to you. And insurance brokers, good transport insurance brokers, will know which insurer suits your business, because not all businesses in the transport game are a good risk for all insurers in the transport marketplace, because they have particular appetites for particular types of businesses. And with that comes understanding the structure of a policy and disclosure and compliance. Now, you can do this all yourself, but the problem is if you make one misstep, the ultimate devastating thing could be a major claim could be denied, and that could adversely impact your business. And the worst thing would be for failure. As I said earlier, knowledge is king. Insurance brokers understand, good transport brokers understand the transport industry. They'll understand the structure and strategy of a business like yours. And they'll also understand the structure and strategy of the insurance industry to place you with the right insurer for your particular needs. And they also know how to set correct and sums insured and what we call sub-limits and excess levels. Now, you can try and do all this yourself, but sometimes you may end up paying too much. you may not have the right cover in certain areas, and your excess levels might be not giving you the best premium outcome. But I think the most important thing for you to understand if you go it alone is you get no support when it comes to claims. You have to be responsible for all the claims related activities, lodging the claim, that's working with the insurers to try and work out where you get your vehicle repaired, your rig repaired. Now you've got the problem that if you go direct online, they will you won't get insurer of choice. You may not be able to get genuine parts, which may affect warranty, because online insurers may have an inexpensive product, but the reason it's cheap, it's a mathematical equation. If you don't provide much cover, you don't have a high premium. And the way you don't get much cover, insurance protection, is they narrow things down and they organise specific arrangements which may be adverse to you. And if you end up having a dispute over these things, you have to fight that battle with the insurer. If you work through a broker, they handle the claim cradle to grave. They'll make sure you get repairers of choice. If there's a dispute, they'll fight the fight for you. And the reason they do that is because they represent you. An insurance broker represents you, the client. They do not represent the insurer. So the outcome is using a good insurance broker can be the difference between survival or going out of business if you try and place your insurance yourself. Another question that might come to mind is that my premiums keep on going up year after year, but I don't make claims. Why does that happen? Well, if you're using a broker, that can happen because some brokers might be complacent and they just renew it with the existing insurer. They don't get to understand your business. And in my business, we have a saying that if I don't know your business, I can't insure it. Now, some brokers may just what we term roll over all the paperwork and just ride the premium going up. But if you engage a specialist, a transport broker, they'll do a health check on your current portfolio of policies, be it for your fleet, be it for your the other assets you own, for the other policies that you might need, and you just get a second opinion, and you might be with the right insurer at the right premium. But if you don't know, it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. Typically, there's no cost to doing that. But the factors that go to make up premiums that are not often talked about, but I'd like to tell you about today, there are two primary functions. There are the personal issues that relate to you and your business, and then there are the non-personal. If we talk about the personal, you'll see there a list of the things that the company experienced with claims, the company experienced in the industry, its track record, its reputation, driver experience, severity and frequency of claims. It may be that you have had good claims experience, but you might have changed your business where you're traveling further than you did before because business is good and you've expanded. You might be carrying different goods or the vehicles that you might be upgrading to or that you continue to keep in your fleet. For insurers, the cost of repairs and getting parts for those vehicles may have increased as a general rule, and therefore those things may have gone to impact to increase the premium. But the things that are not often spoken about that you need to understand are the items under point 2, which are not personal to you, but are of a general nature, which affects everybody across all different types of insurance products. And in the transport space, this is true too. So the insurer that you've been with, if the premium has gone up with your particular insurer, it may be that they have suffered losses across their total portfolio of clients, or it might be for just this particular segment of their insurance portfolio, or it might be their general financial performance may be down, or an insurer's appetite for your particular risk may have changed. These are just some of the things that are external to your business that may impact the premium that just drives the premium up. And that's why if you go to a good transport insurance broker, if premiums are going up unreasonably, they will go into the marketplace and talk to insurers and understand and get quotations, negotiate with insurers to get you the best possible deal. So with one particular insurer, the premium may go up, but might find other insurers where the premium is lower. And so it's always good to get a health check. So, you know, the last thing I want to talk about why premiums may go up are impacts of global catastrophes. And catastrophes here in Australia, we've had bushfires, floods. Around the world, they have hurricanes, we have cyclones, clearly the pandemic. All these things have gone into affecting insurance every year, and natural disasters are increasing in frequency, and the dollar value increases. And so there is a constant pressure on premiums in an upward fashion because of the impact of catastrophes. And clearly the pandemic, we all know, has impacted economies. And I could talk for hours on this and I won't, I don't want to bore you, but the reality is that if you work with a broker who has your interests at heart, who wants to do the right thing by you, they will go back into the market to find potentially an insurer with a premium that's at the rate that you were paying or less. Another question that is sometimes asked is, what happens if a situation occurs and I get a work cover or an EPA fine? Am I covered for this? And this moves us away from talking about fleet insurance specifically, but for you as business owners, what happens to you? And these are what we called statutory fines and penalties, and they are excluded under policies that you will be familiar with, being motor vehicle, fleet policies, your public and products liability, and business insurance. But what can protect your business from fines, and there'll be other fines that we'll probably talk about in the Q&A, that management liability is a policy, if you're with the right insurer, will give you what we call protection against the statutory liability for fines. And, you know, clearly there are a whole range of things that we as business owners are impacted on by. There are 22 acts of parliament, state and federal, that we have to operate by, be they with the ATO, be that with the super guarantee, be that with work cover, be it what you do on the roads. This policy, management liability policy, is like a blanket that wraps around you and your business for the decisions that you make in how you operate your business. And it protects the company and it protects the directors and the managers for the decisions you make in running the business every day. This is a fabulous policy, and if you don't have it or you want to understand more about it, it's really worth investigating. It is the blanket that provides you with protection that will allow you to sleep better at night, because it goes to protect the business for not all the things, only the things I've talked about earlier, but also when it comes to employing people, and covers off these particular examples of claims where a business has been sued because their employee, past employee, prospective employee, may have wanted to sue them for any of these things: physical harassment, sexual harassment, gender discrimination, religious discrimination, unsafe workplace, and it is it's a great product. And your insurance broker should provide you with a lot of information around this so that you have a good understanding if it's a policy you don't have, or if you feel you need to increase it, or you've got any concerns about operations of the business, this is a policy worth considering. I talked earlier about fines being covered under this policy called the management liability policy. I also want to explain to you that legal costs, including defence pre any trial or mediation, or if you end up at court, or if you need expert witnesses, this policy protects the business from those costs. So it is a really useful product. The outcome for you as a business owner is it allows you to have a product to reduce financial loss when these situations arise, just like if you have an accident on the road, if you've got the right vehicle insurance. Another question that sometimes comes up is that, you know, people have had bad experiences with claims, and how can they better navigate that so that you don't have the outcome that you've had in the past? And that's really working with a good insurance broker, because a good insurance broker will fight for you. They provide you support in completing complex claim forms. They understand the words that you might need to use in completing a claim form so that you get the best outcome. Because sometimes if you don't understand a question correctly, you can incorrectly answer it. And that's why working with an insurance broker to demystify a claim form can give you the outcome that your business deserves. And I do know that we've got some insurers listening, but this is important for me to convey this to business owners, that in the event that you happen to have an accident, it's important to never admit liability. Even if you think you're at fault, you don't admit liability, because ultimately there may be circumstances that come up that were contributory, they're outside your control, that may give a different result in a claim. And ultimately it's up to the insurer to determine whether you're at fault, and hopefully it doesn't need to go to court to determine that, and that you'll get a great claims outcome. The important thing to understand is that using an insurance broker helps to avoid delays in claims. Good insurance brokers will work with you to make sure the paperwork's complete, submitted on time, and it gets to the right person so that you get the right result for your claim. Now, sometimes we find when talking with our clients that they'll say that the claim wasn't my fault, but you need proof to determine that. And one of the great things about working with a company like DriveRisk is that they have a range of technologies that Owen will present to you later on, which provides information for you as a business owner that allows you to present to the insurer so that there is full knowledge around the accident. And that will go so far to help reducing your liability, giving you a good claims outcome, and ultimately the information, the technology that is the offering that DriveRisk has. It's not just about the claim at that time, it's about the near misses that happen that could have ended up in a bad claim, that you'll get training on to understand how to reduce claims, because ultimately insurers and you don't want to have to pay out on claims. You need your business to run smoothly so you can focus on generating a profit. So today I've presented those 5 topics for you, and I just want to give a key summary before I hand over to Owen, and that's that if you work with the right insurance broker, you'll get the right advice to avoid the following situations that might be: you might buy the right type of policy, but you might be with the wrong insurer, or you might be with the wrong insurer, but it might be a poorly structured policy, or you might have the wrong policy and the wrong insurer. If you're working with the right broker, you'll avoid those situations, because ultimately a good broker will help you take the guesswork out of insurance. You'll get the protection that you need, and your business will be left to focus on your business. And the end result is working with a good broker, you'll get the claims result you need working with the technology that DriveRisk offers so that you can keep making the profits that you're in business to do. I want to again thank you for listening to what I have to say. I suppose just a simple summary is, do you want to be in a Hyundai i20 or a Toyota Land Cruiser with a bull bar when you have an accident? I'm guessing you want to be in the big, robust entity. And if you work with the right broker, you'll end up having a robust protection in the event of any adverse event. So again, thank you for listening. Happy to throw open to a Q&A now.
Actually, Paul, we'll hold the Q&A until after Owen's had his little chat. I've got a few questions that have come through already, but in the interest of time, we'll just do all the Q&A at the end, please.
Okay, no problem.
Over to you, Owen.
All right, thanks, Paul. I think there's quite a lot of takeaways there for people regarding the typical issues and questions that people have around insurance and how you can effectively use insurance to improve the risk of your business and manage the risks in your business. And today, as a follow-on to that, we'd like to talk about the flip side of that, which is actually mitigating and trying to remove the risk so you don't have to rely on your insurance policy in this time round. So you want to reduce that, and it is possible. And we see it with clients where you can reduce your incidents and costs around those incidents by up to 80% with a well-run program. So I hope I'm preaching to the converted here. Most of the businesses involved in transport should be running some sort of safety management system. If you aren't, please, the NHVR, the VTA, there are lots of consultants in this space that can really help you set up a safety management system. So I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm just going to briefly touch on the one portion of the safety management system, which is risk management, which is a key component of what you should be doing as part of your safety management system. This is where you do a formal or like a theoretical analysis of your business risks. So you look at all the different tasks you've got and how frequently those tasks would come up as a risk and how severe the task is. So you'll have this type of chart where you're doing the assessment on those risks, and then you can put in the appropriate controls and documentation in place. Now, DriveRisk, we absolutely advocate that you should be doing this sort of thing. However, most businesses are doing this on an annual basis, and at DriveRisk, we do a lot with the risk management process, and we think you should be doing this process every day with every trip and every driver, because that way you're right on top of the risks and you can influence your business and make changes to improve the safety outcomes of your business. So I'm just going to briefly go through a simplified version of the risk management process. It's really just 3 steps. You need to identify those risks, and that is you need some sort of detection mechanism, and once you've detected the risk, you need to capture the data around that risk. And as Paul said, we're a video safety provider. So for us, detecting that risk means monitoring the driver in some fashion to see when they're doing something risky, and then capturing a short video of that event. That gives us, we have now identified something that could be risky. Now we need to do something about it. So second step is assessing that risk. So in the case of video, we will review the event to look at the root causes of the risk in that video. And then we'll provide a simple scoring system, which allows you as a client to prioritize what's going on and how you should address these risks. And the third step is obviously take some action, control the risk. And we often refer to this because we deal a lot with the driving community, that is coaching the driver to take corrective action on whatever we've assessed as a risk, and then documenting that process. And the documentation is very important. It allows you to understand that your business is actually making progress and you're getting safer, but also under adverse circumstances, you do have a paper trail. So if you're having discussions with Fair Work around drivers or with unions, that you can show the documentation you've got that you've been working with that driver on, or if there is an incident, you can use this to demonstrate that you have a safety system in place and what you're doing as a business to make you less risky. So this sort of risk management process means you can look ahead and do something about things that haven't happened yet. Because if you want to prevent something from happening, you need to be proactive about how you're dealing with that. And that's the only way you can change the outcomes for future events. So not to bore everybody too much with theory, but just going to look at a risk hierarchy to get an understanding of how risky these things are, how frequently they occur, and what sort of, what the cost parameters look like around it. So this is a short version of a Heinrich's risk or a safety triangle. I won't go into too much of that. There's a lot of research on that, and we have a webinar that we did last year if you'd like to understand about this theory behind it. But fundamentally, let's look at the top two tiers of this pyramid, which is major collisions and minor collisions. Now, these are obviously things you want to prevent, but they're also things that have already happened from a safety and a risk point of view. It's unfortunate. Your minor collisions are your bent metal sort of stuff with hopefully no injury to your staff. And your major collisions are your unfortunate ones. They're your big accidents and most likely having injuries or fatalities associated with them. So they're two things you're really trying to avoid. However, if this is all you're tracking as your business, I'm measuring my incident rate, then this is a lagging indicator. It can't help you move forward in the future because this has already happened. You need to look for leading indicators so that you can prevent things from happening in the future. And this is where the rest of the pyramid comes in. So the bottom three layers. Now, if I look at the gray one, layer 3 there, which is near collisions. Now, a lot of people refer to these as near misses, but realistically, you didn't nearly miss him, you nearly hit him. So a near collision is probably a better term for it. But these are really important events for your business to capture. If you understand when you almost had an incident, then you can analyze that, look at the root causes, make some changes to prevent them from actually happening. And monitoring of these sort of, I will use the term near miss, a couple of decades ago, this changed how workplace health and safety was generally done in factories and warehouses. Capturing that information just revolutionized how quickly they could improve their safety record by taking advantage of that information that we got lucky. So let's use that so we don't have to be lucky next time. And then if we look a little bit further down the pyramid, high risk behaviors and risky behaviors. So high risk behaviors are things that will lead to a collision. If you're on your mobile phone, you are or if you're texting, you're like 23 times more likely to have a collision than not texting. That is a direct collision leading behavior. Whereas just a risky behavior is something that won't lead to a collision, but if it happens, it will make it worse. Easy example is they're not wearing a seatbelt, right? But these risky behaviors also give you an indication of the safety mindset of your staff, because if they're engaging in those risky behaviors, it's likely they're engaging in the other ones up the pyramid. Now, just a quick note. So the numbers there are effectively the ratios of things happening. So if we just look the near collisions, so for every 300 near collisions, you're likely to have 29 minor collisions and 1 major collision. So the goal here, obviously, is to reduce the number of those near collisions because that will reduce the numbers going up the chain. But it gives you an idea of how risky your business is and where you should focus. Because the bottom half of this pyramid is unfortunately things that most businesses don't track. And they are the things that you can use to prevent the top 2 tiers from happening. So it makes a lot of sense for businesses to start tracking this. So again, I know everybody loves statistics. I'm not sure if everybody's asleep yet, but the NTI produce absolutely fantastic material, and everybody should be consuming these reports. Every year they put out a major accident report. I'm going to refer to a little bit of data here from their most recent one. The NTI looks at larger incidents, so those costing more than $50,000 from an insurance perspective. And it kind of pains me to say that there was more than 850 of these in the last 12 months. So using this data will allow us to have less in the future and prevent accidents. So let's have a look at their findings. Now, this is the root cause of these incidents. And you can see there, about 14% of these incidents were caused by inappropriate speed. And again, that's why businesses do focus on this, which is a great thing, but that's 14% of the problem. Fatigue gets a lot of airplay, And it is an absolutely high severity problem. But it's 8% of these major incidents. So there's a big orange blob on the right-hand side there, which is obviously the majority of that. And that's driver error. More than 40% of the problems caused by this. And it's not something a lot of businesses are looking at. So let's delve a little bit deeper into the data and see what's inside that 40%. And you can see there, nearly 40% of the 40% is distraction, which odds on is probably mobile phone usage. It's, even taking 40% of 40%, it is the biggest single problem as a root cause. And then you've got inappropriate vehicle positioning. There's a secondary one in parking issues or lane departures and those sorts of things. And then third is tailgating. Right? Some of these things seem very simple, but a lot of businesses are just not looking at these problems that are clearly the most prevalent. And if you analyze them and reduce these, this is going to change the safety outcomes for your business. So what can you do? What tools do you have to actually address these things? Now, GPS tracking is a pretty common technology that people have in their vehicles, and it's very useful from an operational point of view, but from a safety point of view, it has constraints. So it can do a good job giving you indications about whether if you're speeding, but for any other incident or risk, you don't get enough information. It doesn't give you any root cause information. The guy might have just slammed on his brakes. You know when it happened, you know where it happened, but that's all you know. Can't really help you change the problem. Dash cams is another very highly used technology, which unfortunately most people only look at when they've had a collision. So it gives you great footage in a collision, and I'm sure Paul and the guys have much appreciated when people give them video of an incident. It does simplify the investigation process, but it is not going to stop and prevent you from having another one. It's just going to give you great footage of the one you had. Work diaries, again, not really a tool that's going to help us with these driver error issues. It's in there, it's tracking the driver's hours, which can, work with improving fatigue issues, but it's not going to help anybody with a mobile phone distraction problem. The fatigue monitoring technologies. Now, these are fantastic. So we also provide this type of technology. It is really the last line of defense if you've got a fatigue issue with your staff. They are genuinely life-saving. However, they're not suitable to all fleets. Depends very much on your freight tasks and your timing and shifts and things like that. Lots of businesses need them, but lots don't. However, they don't help you with tailgating. So it doesn't really help you with that 41% of the problem. Driver trainers. Now, these are great additions to businesses, but unfortunately they have a limited amount of time. And they go for the ride along with your drivers. You can bet your bottom dollar that those drivers are being absolutely awesome when the driver trainer's in the vehicle, but he gets out and they go back to their old ways. Going down the list, safety campaigns and putting posters up. It makes you feel good, gives you an idea that you're being, improving your road safety, but what are you going to put a campaign out about? You don't know what your problems are because you're not measuring anything. You're just going to put up a poster that says, please wear a seatbelt. Do you have a seatbelt problem? How do you measure the effectiveness of that intervention? What would be really good is the ability to do root cause analysis of your near collisions. That will actually change outcomes and improve your safety record. So, not that this is going to turn into a product presentation, but we use technology to give you those sorts of results. So DriveCam is the technology, and we use the driver safety program, and it allows you to risk assess every trip. We have some clients calling it having a driver trainer in the cab for every trip, every day. It gives you the information you need to take actions in your business. It also gives you the detail to focus on the high-risk behaviors that are actually happening in your fleet and with the actual driver that has this habit. So you can talk to the people about the problem that they're actually exhibiting. There are lots of drivers in your fleets that are great. Leave them alone, but you need to help the ones who need helping. Our tech also obviously does the near collision It'll tell you when you've got near collisions, and then you can do the root cause analysis on that and make the appropriate changes, have those conversations with drivers to prevent these from actually becoming an accident. And it monitors and tracks your corrective actions. So you get driver profiles, you know what you've spoken to people about, you can monitor your business and see whether your risks are improving and your safety record is getting better. So having good technology allows you to do a lot of these things to improve the safety outcomes of your business, because you're looking at leading indicators, not lagging indicators. Now, just to give you an example of the technology. So we're a video provider, a video safety provider, and everybody talks about AI in these sort of products. So I thought I'd give you an example of what the AI is actually doing. So this is not a normal video clip we'd provide as part of our service, but this is an internal look at what the unit is thinking. I'll just play one of these clips. So quick explanation here, this little graph down the bottom, this shows you the confidence level of the AI about the different behaviors. So basically 0 to 100%. And the different colors are for the different behaviors that are exhibited. So in this case, yellow is smoking, blue is food and drink, and red is mobile phones. So let's just have a look. I'll play it through. It's a 2-minute clip that's sped up to 15 seconds. So you can see how the AI is reacting to what's on screen. And guy's playing with his mobile phone, has a quick smoke. He's obviously never heard of a seatbelt, but obviously likes his smokes, and nothing to say, I'll do 2 things at the same time, smoke and use the phone at the same time. This guy is an accident waiting to happen in your fleet. Not really something you want to have out on the road every day. You've really got to change that behavior of that guy. Otherwise, there is going to be an incident. And for us, because we're focusing on those driver issues, the drivers are the key. Now, it's arguable that the driver is the most advanced piece of technology in the cab. Hold the laughter, please. But they are very important to our businesses, and we need to coach, support, and educate these guys and ladies, because that's the key to being a safer fleet. If you've got the right tools and enough data, you can talk to the right people. So I think most people have heard of the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. In our space, we talk about the 10-60 rule. 10% of your drivers are causing 60% of your risk. So it's identifying those 10% of the drivers, working with them on the actual issues that they're exhibiting will really change the business. And the other 90% of guys, just leave them alone. Well, actually, we encourage people to have incentive programs based around safety. So those guys that look really boring and just drive and don't have any incidents, they can get rewarded for being a really safe driver and an awesome asset in your fleet. So just to recap, the key things I think you should take away from this section of the webinar: using a risk management approach is something we advocate, and every business in transport should be using this. Just a must-have at this point. Get yourselves some tools and technology so you can gather the data you need, preferably stuff that's got leading indicators for you to make decisions. Whoops, and I just stole my next point. The leading indicators are the game changers. Change them and that will prevent unsafe outcomes. Work with your drivers. They are a core part of your business. Use the tools you've got, be as transparent as you can with those drivers and work with them. So if you've got a system, you've got tools and tech and data, you're working with your drivers, talk to your broker. They're going to be interested in what you've got, what you're doing, what it's changing, and how it's improving you. If you can prove that, they'll be interested in talking to you, because reducing risk reduces costs, not just operational costs, but every part of your business. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, Owen.
Hand it back to Scott.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much to you as well, Paul. So I've got a couple of questions here. First one is for Paul. Here, what does it say? I've seen some articles about being able to make claims against COVID on my insurance. Is that right? Is that true?
It's a great question. Yeah, well, insurance in the first instance, when COVID came out, people made claims on their travel insurance because they were overseas or interstate and travel got disrupted, and that certainly happened. There have been a total of 4 court cases here in Australia and 3 in the UK, determining if under another policy, business insurance policy, business interruption, which comes with your property insurance, is if your business has been impacted, the income has been impacted, if you can actually make a claim. And the reason there have been so many court cases is that it's not a simple answer. And interestingly, in October, the final court case will come out, and it is possible that businesses that have business interruption insurance, which comes with their property insurance, they may be able to make a claim depending on several clauses in their policy. And also as an offset against that, if a company's received government assistance during the pandemic. That what I mean by that is if they got job keeper, if they got government grants, all these things, and if they got offsets through the ATO for their BAS, all these additional supports will be then analysed against their income that they have suffered a drop in income. And if their policy wording allows it, then it looks like they'll be able to make a claim and the courts will adjust it. And the insurance industry has raised $10 billion to pay out potential claims under this scenario. So that effectively you need to work with your broker to analyse your insurance policies. Insurers are putting their hand up and saying, we want to look at potential claims because we want to do the right thing. I know that sounds shocking to business owners that insurers want to do the right thing. Present insurers accepted who are in on this webinar, but other insurers are saying that. So yeah, it does look likely they will be able to make claim, but there are many pieces to the puzzle. So I can't say carte blanche that everybody will get it who wants to make a claim, but it looks like it will be possible.
All right, good. Thanks, Paul. Look, another one for you. You had some information about the statutory fines. Would that cover things like NHVR investigations and fines from the NHVR as well?
Well, look, it's a great question. In simple terms, the policy will protect the insured if they've got the right policy and they've got this extension on the management liability policy with that it will, any statutory authority, be it a state authority or a federal authority, if a fine is imposed, they'll be covered.
Right, okay. Here, one for you, Owen. With the video system that you guys provide, or we provide, how do you get around any privacy concerns with the drivers?
Well, I suppose the main thing is you get the drivers involved in the conversation. So the products we provide and the services we provide do conform to Australian privacy principles, and there is surveillance law in each state that is relevant. However, the vehicle is defined as a workplace, and workplace surveillance laws also exist in each state. And as long as you conform to those laws, you can put video inside a vehicle. However, we don't, as a rule, we don't use continuous recording on the drivers. We want to capture risk. So we are using that AI technology, which is using the video as a sensor to work out when there's a risky event. Then we capture the video, and then that is used as part of that assessment and controlling process. That allows us to kind of have that middle ground between capturing data that the business needs and protecting the driver's privacy, because the driver is ultimately in control of when that video is triggered. If the driver is doing a normal job and just driving, then there will be no video generated. But I suppose prior to that, the first thing we do as part of our implementation process is talk to every single driver before anything is installed in the vehicle. Have those conversations, be transparent. Tell them why you're doing it. We tell them what it does, what it doesn't do. Kind of knock all the myths and rumors on the head straight away. Get the drivers involved in the process. It's there for their safety. At the end of the day, we just want you to go home to your family.
Yes, a follow-up here, Owen, for you. You sort of answered this already, but is the system always recording the driver permanently?
No. No. So the system records outside the vehicle on a continuous loop, depending on systems people got. The current systems do that, but on the driver, it's only event capture. So only when there's a risky event detected, then it captures a 12-second clip of that specific event so that it can be risk assessed. It also makes it more efficient for the business because you're creating a case off each one of these events. You can deal with the case, control the case, close the case, move on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for you, Paul, I'm about to use some of these safety technologies. Would insurance? Well, do I get a discount? Is what he says. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. This is an emerging technology, and we are in discussions with several insurers at the moment, and there is great interest because this, to use one of Owen's comments, is this is proactive approach. This is a leading indicator, and insurers are over many years, people come up with great ideas, they think, and they try and sell it. This actually is great technology, and the insurers we're talking to have great interest, and we're in the assessment stage. So stay tuned. We hope to be presenting great benefits for DriveRisk clients. So yes.
All right. For you, Owen, is this sort of behaviour monitoring actually a requirement under the COR laws?
There's no specific requirement for behaviour management, but they want you to do risk assessments and run a safety management system. That's, again, it's not mandatory, but that's what they're encouraging everybody to do. And this is just a very good way of doing those risk assessments effectively in near real time and every day. So while it's not absolutely necessary, it does help you achieve the goals that they're setting out to achieve.
Yeah. All right then. Look, the last one here, I'll put a few of these questions together for you, Paul, but have you got any insights as to any trends in the insurance and premiums in particular moving forward? Yeah,
it's a great question, on the tip of everybody's tongue or mind, I should say. Look, currently the insurance industry, as general rule, is in what we term a hard market, which means that premiums are going up, and it's typically for external reasons. And I talked earlier in the presentation around the effects of catastrophes, natural catastrophes, and the pandemic. And a contributing factor also is we're in a really low interest rate period, and insurers will collect money at the front of a policy period and hold it for the duration of the policy period, and they may pay money out during the period. They've got a lot of cash and sitting in reserves to pay claims. They have statutory requirements to do this. If they can be earning money, interest money on that, then that has a downward pressure on premiums, because it helps offset. Clearly, they want to make a profit, but their intention is not to continue to drive premiums up, because they know that clients don't like that, and if that happens, then clients may leave them. Their intention is to keep premiums, stable and down. That's really what they want to do. So an offset in this current economic climate is interest rates are low, which is putting an upward pressure on premiums because they're not getting the interest returns. Yeah. So you combine that with the natural catastrophes, and so we've got premiums going this way. And in some particular class of insurance, they're doing this. In some, it's a bit flat, but as an average, it's upward at the moment, and which is tough for everybody. Yeah.
All right. I've had a follow-up question. If I have a safety system and I reduce my incidents and accidents, will I get a guaranteed premium reduction? Who wants to take that?
Michael, do you want to take that?
I might jump into this one, and that's a fantastic question. The idea of guarantee is an interesting one. Also, when an insurer looks at your risk, they take a number of factors into consideration. You minimising that risk for the insurer certainly goes a long way to minimise your premiums. We must remember what we mentioned before about the severity and frequency of claims also. So implementing the technology into your operations certainly goes a long way into consideration for an insurer to offer you some sort of a variance or reduction in your premium. However, that's one part of the picture, and a big part of the picture at that. But other factors go into the insurer determining your premium as well. What you carry, how far you go, the drivers that you employed, past histories. But certainly the question is a good one, and it can go a long way into determining the savings on your premium.
And if I can just add to that too, it also depends on, you know, what your insurance broker does with that information and how they present it to the insurer and how they negotiate with the insurer and the relationship they have with the insurer. You know, a specialist transport insurance broker who's got a good reputation with good information will get a better outcome than somebody who isn't any of those things. So, and somebody who understands your whole business. It's not just the claims, and Michael's talked to that. It's also understanding your whole business and presenting the whole picture to the insurer so that they have a good sense of who you are, and what you're going to be doing going forward. And, you know, everybody likes to back a winner. And I mean, behind me, I've got, that side, I've got a picture of Phar Lap's amazing week in the 1930s. You know, we all like to back a winner, and insurers are the same thing. So, you know, if you've got good information with a good broker, you'll get a better outcome than if you don't.
All right, thanks very much. Look, that's all the time we've got for today. The webinar has actually been recorded. The recording will be available on both the DriveRisk website and the Benjamin & Benjamin website. Thanks very much for your time today, for dialing in. If you've got any specific questions, just reach out to Benjamin & Benjamin or ourselves at DriveRisk Australia. So thank you very much again, Paul, for your time today, and Owen, and Michael. I didn't even introduce you, sorry, mate. But look, thanks very much for everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.